Hello everyone, welcome back to the Flicks Files. This is meant to be another movie news video. Every Tuesday I've been doing movie news videos for about the past 5 weeks, I think. But again, it absolutely saddens me to say that there's been nothing in the movie news world in the past 7 days that's been of interest to me, that's made me want to talk about it. There was the BAFTAs on Sunday, and there were a couple of awards that I saw that made me go, oh yeah, that's good. Wallace and Gromit, the new Wallace and Gromit movie that was broadcast on Christmas Day, won quite a few BAFTAs, which I was really pleased with. And I think Dune Part 2 won the BAFTA for Best Visual Effects. But other than that, there was just nothing that I found intriguing. Certainly the movies nominated for Best Film and the Best Actor and Best Actress categories, it was just nothing that really appealed to me. Not movies that I'd want to see, which is really sad. As a movie lover, it just really saddens me to say that, but it's true. And it got me thinking about modern movies in general, and how when I look at all the films behind me and what's in my collection, if I organise them by year, then after about the year 2010, the amount of films that I buy every year is kind of dropping. And for the simple reason that there's just less and less movies coming out that are of interest to me. And I don't know whether it's just me getting old and jaded, but I'd rather watch older movies that I've always enjoyed than keep rediscovering new ones, because I'm usually always disappointed. There are a few exceptions, but if I think of 2024 as a year in movies, I could probably count on the fingers of one hand the amount of films that I watched, enjoyed, and then bought on physical media. So it's such a sad state of affairs, and we're already in the middle of February of 2025. And when I look at what's coming up this year in terms of big films, again, there's probably only 2 or 3 that I'm excited about seeing. The new Jurassic World movie looks interesting, and the new Mission Impossible movie looks interesting. But it's such a sad state of affairs that less and less modern movies are appealing to me. And I talked about how I had superhero fatigue, and the big rash of Marvel movies that we've had over the last 15 years. And the new Marvel movie, the Captain America one, and I've seen the trailers for it, but it just didn't interest me. And I thought, gosh, it's probably going to be the first Marvel movie that I might even not get around to watching on streaming, never mind buy it. And it's really, really sad. But the upside to all that is I still have over 1,000 movies in my collection that I do love. So I'm sure as I get older, I will just increasingly turn onto them more and more and just watch older movies than rediscover new ones. Part of it is quite sad. But as I say, I don't know what it is, whether it's just me getting older or films are generally getting dumber and crapper. Certainly mainstream movies. There may be some indie movies that have been released that I would have really enjoyed. But because I don't tend to blind buy films, I'm kind of limited in how to watch them. I don't like going to the cinema. But that just quickly brings me on to 2 new films that I have seen this week, that I just wanted to quickly talk about. And it maybe highlights my point in how I am with modern movies, because these are 2 films that are on the Apple Plus streaming service. And I think at the minute it's the only way you can watch them. So if you don't have that subscription, then you won't be able to see these 2 films, unfortunately. And because they're on Apple, it may mean they will never get a physical release, because I think Apple bankroll movies just for their streaming service. And unlike Netflix, that sometimes release some of their bigger films on physical media, I'm thinking of things like The Irishman was financed by Netflix, and that was released by Criterion because I have that in my collection. But I don't think Apple do that. I think they just hold on to their content. But there was 2 films on their service that I watched in the last week. One was called The Gorge, which was kind of a horror, science fiction, action movie. And another one was called Flight Risk, which is the new film directed by Mel Gibson. And I'm not going to give you spoilers, but I just want to quickly talk about both of these movies. And yeah, hopefully explain why I found them disappointing. So The Gorge is about 2 people that are encamped in watchtowers on either side of this gorge. On one side is the actor Miles Teller, and on the other is Anya Taylor-Joy. And she was the reason I wanted to watch this movie, because I think she's a great actress. And she was in possibly my best movie of 2024, which was Mad Max Furiosa. I thought she was absolutely fantastic in that film. But yeah, this movie, so they're both kind of doing a tour of duty of living a solitary existence in this watchtower on either side of this gorge. And their whole purpose of being there is to maintain the security facilities that are scattered along the edge of this gorge. And there's things like bloody great big mounted machine guns and proximity mines. And there's these satellite dishes that apparently cloak the gorge from satellites. So if anyone takes satellite imagery of the area, this gorge won't show on that image. And that's all they've been told, and that they just have to stay there for 12 months and ensure that all these security systems keep running. So they don't know what's in this gorge, because if you look down into the gorge, it's got like low level cloud, because it's so deep, it kind of has its own atmosphere. So you start to think, wow, what is in this gorge? What are they protecting or stopping from getting out? And it really is intriguing. So you start to think, oh, there's a big monster down there. And the beginning, say first half of the movie is actually rather enjoyable, where, as I say, they're living solitary existences in these watchtowers, but they both have high power binoculars, and they've been told that they can't communicate with the person on the other side of the gorge. But they do. They start writing down messages on big pieces of card and holding them up so the other one can read it through binoculars. And they form a kind of long distance relationship. And eventually they manage to work out a system of being able to meet face to face, and they form a bond. And then an accident occurs that makes Miles Teller fall down into this gorge. And so Anya Taylor-Joy puts on a parachute and jumps off the gorge and falls down after it. And that's where we get into the second half of the movie, and we start to learn what's down there. And as I say, I'm not going to give spoilers, but what I will say is it was disappointing. The build-up was more fun than the reveal. And yeah, it just, when I watched it, it made my kind of heart sink to think, I'm sure that they could have come up with something more interesting than what they did do. And all I will say is that watching the second half of this movie kept making me think of Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And in particular, the character of Treebeard in that movie. So if you know the Lord of the Rings movies, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to say anything more than that. Suffice to say that if you do watch this movie, you will start thinking about Treebeard, as bizarre as that sounds. But yeah, I just found it disappointing, and it made me realise that this is why I don't blind buy films on physical media anymore. Because I could have probably read a review of this film in a magazine or on the internet and gotten a different interpretation of it than what I got from when I watched the movie. So I'd have probably read a review of it and thought, hey, that sounds really good. I'm going to get that, and then bought it and watched it and thought, oh, okay. And which brings me on to my second mini movie review of the second film I've watched this week, which was a film called Flight Risk, which was directed by Mel Gibson. Now, Mel Gibson, bless him, I've always thought he is Mad Max, and I thought he was fantastic in the Lethal Weapon films, and he's done a wealth of other films that I've always enjoyed, like Signs and Ransom and things like that. And he's proven to be a very, very good director. Braveheart was his first movie, and he completely knocked it out of the park with that. It's a fantastic film. And he did other films like The Passion of the Christ and Hacksaw Ridge, which, again, both brilliant, brilliant movies. And for some reason, he's decided to direct this very short 90-minute sort of action thriller called Flight Risk, which stars Mark Wahlberg. And again, the concept of this movie, the idea of it, seems very, very interesting. And it's just about a female US Marshal that's transporting a witness that's under the Witness Protection Program to testify against this big mob boss. And they have to take a flight over some Alaskan mountains to get to Anchorage, I think it is. And Mark Wahlberg is the pilot that's flying them there. But once they take off and they get up to altitude, we start to learn that Mark Wahlberg isn't who we think he is, and he's actually sent to kill this witness before he can testify. So then the rest of the movie, and I'd say about 85% of the movie, is set on board this little plane. All takes place on this plane. And you think this is going to be a cracking action thriller, and it'll be, there'll be a lot of moments in it that will be thrilling, and it will make use of the fact that they're high up in this plane. And again, it was disappointing. It didn't prove to be as exciting as it could have been. And it's only really during the last, say, 5 minutes that it really moves up a gear and gets mildly entertaining. And it's a real shame, because I've always liked Mel Gibson as a director. So I don't know why he even took this on as a movie in the first place, because it doesn't seem to be like the sort of movies that he normally does. And I hear that they filmed it in 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks. So it was a very quick production. But again, it just made me think, if this movie was made, say, in the 1990s, would it have been a lot more entertaining if it was made then than it is now? It's just bizarre. I just don't know what it is about some modern films. So yeah, that's 2 new movies that I've watched, both made in 2025, and I found them both disappointing. So it doesn't bode well as we go further into the year. There is one movie that I have watched this year that I did like, and I am going to buy it on physical media, and that is Gladiator 2. I watched Gladiator 2, and no, it's not as good as the first one, but it's still very good, and it still has some terrific action in it, and the story was quite interesting. And I thought, I watched it, and the movie ended, and I thought, yeah, I liked that. I think Ridley Scott's, when he puts his mind to it, can still make a fairly good movie. So that's now on my wish list on Amazon, and I think it comes out of 4K towards the end of March. So I'm going to be buying that. And what else do I want to... I'm going to be buying Amadeus, is coming out on 4K towards the end of February, which is a movie I've always liked, and I don't have that on any kind of physical media. So I'm looking forward to owning that. But other than that, guys, I think this will be the last movie news video that I do. So I need to think about what I'm going to be talking about on my Tuesday video, because I would still like to do 2 videos a week. So the good news is, because this video does sound a bit of a downer while I'm thinking about what I'm talking about, but Friday we'll see the return of my deep dive videos. So I've got one on Friday that I'm very excited to be made available for you all to watch. It's a movie that I've always loved, and I had a real fun time talking about it. And I'm just finishing off editing the deep dive for next week, so a week on Friday, which again is another movie I've got a long history with and I've always liked. So I'm still having a great fun time making the videos on Friday, but I want to try and keep doing 2 videos a week. But at the moment I'm struggling as to what I'm going to be talking about for the second video. The video I did on Friday of last week was my UFO stroke alien invasion movie. And I've had some lovely comments on it, but again, the views that I've had have been lower than what I would normally get on a Friday video. So I don't know if that's a topic that I can keep revisiting on my channel. Again, I don't want to scare subscribers off. So I need to think about that, but I'll come up with something. So there we are. That's my very last no movie news video. So as I say, look forward to my video that's coming out on Friday. And I will be posting the video next Tuesday, but as yet, I don't know what on earth I'm going to be talking about. I'm sure I'll come up with something. So we'll see you soon, guys. So thank you for watching up to this point, and take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.